Good morning, you guys. How you doing? So good to see everybody. I'm going to pre-record this because I just have things I got to do, and I need to get through this book. So we're going to do chapters 12 through 20 of Evading Babylon, and we're going to talk about this, So here we go. Let me start with reading now. So here we go. Chapter 12 of this boring book. Everything about this has something to do with the chip, the end of the world, the doomsday, because everything that this guy writes about is exactly this stuff. So here we go. I hope you remember who Nathan and Marie are, because they seem to be some of the main characters in this book. So here we go. As Nathan drove back to Orem that afternoon, he was fretting so much about his relationship with Marie that he hadn't even turned on the car radio. So he didn't hear the news reports until he got home. But when he walked in the door, Vanessa, which you'll know is his stepmom, remember he was upset that his dad had an affair, but then his dad and mother got divorced. And after the divorce, he ended up marrying the person he had the affair with. And then he also has a stepsister. So here we go. Well, it's a half-sister, really, because it's his dad and a stepmother's child. Anyway, let's go on. She goes, "Have you heard what happened?" he asked. "Southern California got hit by a huge earthquake today." He joined her and Denise in front of the TV and watched as a skyscraper became engulfed in flames. The report soon switched to the footage from a helicopter that clearly showed where a fault line had opened up, creating a deep gash across the landscape. Homes were tumbling into the void and roads disappeared. "How big was this quake?" Nathan asked. "They're saying it was a 7.6, Vanessa said. "There have been several strong aftershocks already. I'm so worried. I have sisters and a brother who live down there. I've tried calling them, but the lines are all jammed." Well, that might be scary. Think about that. 7.6 is a pretty big earthquake. One time we went to Disney over in California, and while we were there was an earthquake that happened. It was a small one, but when that building started shaking, I was so scared. I woke up, and I remember trying to stand up, and I felt like I was going to fall over, and I kept telling my husband, I said, get in the car. And he goes, "Well, where do you think we're going?" Everything's shaking like this. It was sort of funny, but anyway. They continued to watch as reports came in from several different locations. Since it hit in the early afternoon, millions of people were trapped away from their homes. Several key freeways were cracked and unusable, and fire seemed to be spouting up everywhere. They showed another shot where an entire block of homes had been jolted and now all sharply tilted in one direction. "This is terrible," Nathan said. "The damages are going to be in the billions of dollars." Garrett soon arrived home, and they all watched until the news reports started repeating themselves. Vanessa began preparing some dinner, and Nathan said to Garrett, now Garrett is Nathan's father, okay? "Can we talk for a minute?" They went into the living room, and Garrett asked, "What's going on?" "Well, I've got a new job offer, and I think I'm going to take it." "Really?" Garrett asked. "Who with?" And remember, this job offer is with the MM Project, and remember, Nathan's not going to get paid. And this is where all this doomsday prepping starts, because that's exactly the job. They want these guys to go start prepping this area that they already own to be where basically the camps are going to be for, let's just face it, the 144,000. So here we go. It's with the church. When I was on my mission, Elder Smith at the Quorum of 12 told me about this opportunity, and so I followed up on it last week. They want me to start on Monday. "Wow, that's fast," Garrett said. "What will you be doing?" "Well, it's mainly humanitarian work, such as delivering supplies and building shelters. I'll have housing in Salt Lake, but it sounds like I'll be traveling a lot." He goes, "Well, if you're happy with that, then I support it. Besides, I sensed that Toys R Us job just wasn't going to last forever." Remember, he was going to work at Toys R Us for just a short while he was trying to go to college. He just thought that the money he could make over there would help him pay for his college. And he goes, "Thanks, Dad. The hardest part is I will not be living here. I've really started to bond with Vanessa and Denise and you. I feel the same way, but you'll be able to visit, right?" "Once in a while," Nathan said. "They said they'll provide all the transportation I need, so I won't be using my car since you made a down payment. I'll let you decide what to do with it." Garrett raised his eyebrows. "Won't you need it when the job is done?" And think about this. His father helped him buy this car, and he hasn't even had it a whole month from the way it sounds from when he first started working at Toys R Us until he, got this offer and decided to take it. It seems like the span of time was only maybe like 3 weeks. Okay. So he goes, maybe, but they said the job could last several months. I guess I'll just park it in the driveway with a for sale sign and see if there's any takers. Thanks, Dad. Please don't think I'm not appreciative of everything you've done for me since I got home, but it's really just meant a lot to me. No problem, Garrett. It's the least I can do. And so his dad says, it's the least I can do. Well, during the dinner, they talked some more about the earthquake, which led Nathan to tell Vanessa and Denise about his new job, and then he'd be moving out. They weren't very happy about it. I mean, he just met his stepmom and his half-sister, and his half-sister was so happy because she'd never had a brother before. She was excited. But they said they supported his decision. After dinner, Nathan felt prompted to take Denise out for a treat. He stopped by her bedroom where she was listening to music. Hey, would it be all right with you if I treated you to some dessert? Denise was so surprised but so excited. She goes, sure. Okay. They let Vanessa and Garrett know where they were going, and then they got into the car and started driving. What would you like? He asked. Well, she goes, let's split a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts, she said with a smile. Mom never lets me eat those. Oh, he goes, that sounds great to me. We have we have Krispy Kreme donuts here, where I live, but we also have a place called Round Rock Donuts. I'm telling you, Round Rock Donuts is the best donuts I've ever tasted. They're so good. They make them with some kind of, they almost look like the icing almost looks kind of orangish. It's just delicious. Anyway. So within a few minutes, they had each picked out 6 donuts and a drink. They moved to a table at the store. Denise quickly sat down and selected a cream-filled one. She bit halfway through it and got it all over her face. Oh, that's so good, she mumbled. Nathan laughed, admiring his younger sister he barely knew. Once they had both eaten 3 donuts, they took a break. Denise, I want you to know you can always count on me. No matter what happens, I'm your brother. Don't ever forget that. She smiled. It's nice to have a big brother. I'm sad you're moving to Salt Lake, though. You'll have to visit us as often as you can, okay? I will try. Nathan looked around the remaining after his 6 donuts. I think I'm full. How about you? Well, I'm getting there. We can take the rest of these home to our parents. Denise looked betrayed. I've got a better idea. How about if my big brother smuggles them up to my bedroom? Nathan smiled. You got a deal. Chapter 13. Halfway across the world, a diplomat named Chen Ming walked through a bustling crowd in Beijing, China. He had been summoned for an urgent meeting with his superiors. It was a nice morning, and seemingly everyone wanted to be outside. He was accustomed to the city's endless commotion. After he'd grown up there, but he had settled into middle age, he was eager for the upcoming changes he knew were coming into his life. Now, I don't know how you can jump from something going on over here in Utah to something going over here in China, but this is typical of this particular writer because he's all over the place. He is. This book is kind of poorly written. It makes it a little bit hard to read, but we'll just keep going. Okay. He had enjoyed a nice supper the previous evening with his parents to celebrate his 55th wedding anniversary, but now he was focused on his upcoming assignment. He reached the conference room and saw several key people gathered around a TV screen. He saw one of his close friends and asked, "Why do we need to meet today? What has happened?" He goes, "Hi, Dragon." His friend said, "There was a big earthquake in the United States. This might be our opportunity we've been waiting for." Well, this sounds really terrible, right? Like they've been planning something bad to happen over in the United States so that they could do something drastic or bad from China. Anyway, Dragon smiled at his friend's use of the nickname he gained during their time together at the Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. Oh, so he'd been here. He's experienced it. Anyway, he received the name. One of the supervisors there found out his birth in 1964 had fallen in the Chinese calendar's year of the dragon. "Nobody's called me dragon since I left the United States," he said. "I've missed it." They finished smiled. Their friend smiled. "We might as well use it again since you're heading back there." Soon Dragon was seated around a table with other Chinese leaders. They all agreed to speed up their plans after the earthquake. This disaster is going to have far-reaching effects across the United States. One diplomat said, "Their economy is going to take a hit, and if we implement our plan as quickly as possible, it will be a powerful 1-2 punch." Oh, they're planning something terrible. It sounds like they're planning on taking over parts of America. That's what it sounds like to me. Well, let's keep reading. Dragon smiled. The timing was right, and America would never suspect the source of their troubles. China had purposely acted like a big, lovable panda bear in their dealings with the United States in the past 2 decades, and it had paid off both diplomatically and economically. However, the Americans didn't seem to realize that when a panda is irritated, it will occasionally violently attack, and China was definitely irritated with America. The meeting soon concluded, and the dragon departed to begin his assignment as quickly as possible. He returned to the modern office tower where he lived, exchanging pleasantries with his doorman before stepping into the nearby elevator and being whisked to his penthouse suite on the 10th floor. He entered his suite, gently shut the door, and then stood motionless for nearly a minute, savoring the silence. He moved to a large window that overlooked the sprawling city. The unrelenting haze of pollution obscured the rising sun, and he shook his head at the unending mass of humanity on the streets below. Yes, China is one of the most overcrowded places in the world. I think the population there is larger than any other population, but I would have to go look at facts at this moment, but I can't look at the facts while I read this, so here we go. We'll just keep talking. We'll just keep reading. I can't even wait to get out of here, he said quickly. He had already selected his future home once this assignment was over, a large ranch house in America tucked away in a quiet valley where he could actually see the stars at night. Dragon moved from the window and pondered the directions his life had taken. As a young man, he had excelled in his studies and had been given a chance to attend college in the United States. After graduating with a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland in the early 1990s, he returned to China and worked his way through his political ranks. He was eventually assigned to work in the Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C., where he was trusted and well-liked. His superiors had recognized his skills and groomed him for more important projects. After numerous successes in the service of the Chinese government, he was on the verge of his crowning achievement before retirement. This upcoming mission would make him revered among his countrymen forever. Let me rephrase that. Hang on, guys. This upcoming mission would make him revered among his countrymen forever. Sorry, little mistake there. I can hear my son wrestling around upstairs, and I don't want this damn dog to start barking. So just hold on a minute. We'll just keep going for now. By mid-morning, Dragon was all ready to depart his journey. He wandered through his apartment for the last time, retrieving a few remaining personal items. All the furnishings in this apartment were staying there, since another Chinese leader would take up this residency in the penthouse in just a few days. After his belongings were packed, he went to a small closet and removed a sturdy briefcase that had been delivered to him the previous week. He carried it to the kitchen table, entered the correct numbers of the combination lock, and then carefully opened it. Now listen to what he finds inside. This is not in the book, but I'm going to tell you. Listen to what he finds inside. Hey, I thought I was just recording this. I didn't know it was live. Are you telling me this is live? Let me go see if there's comments that can be seen. Hang on. Well, all right, here we go. So he goes, okay, so he'd received this case earlier, but he didn't look at it. But now he's going to look at it. Here we go. After his okay, so he goes, he carried it into the kitchen, and he put the numbers in the combination. Then he carefully opened it. Inside were 4 metallic thermos-type containers. Each one was about the size of a soda can and bound tightly in bubble wrap to avoid any mishaps. He gingerly touched each one of them. Everything looks good, he said before snapping the briefcase shut. He placed it back in the closet and then smiled in wonderment at those 4 small packages that he would soon help him trigger if this would be the downfall of the U.S. So this makes me wonder if this is some kind of poison or some kind of, it's a chemical, like this is chemical warfare right here of some sort. Maybe some kind of disease. I don't know yet, we'll find out. Now this is chapter 14. On Sunday, Nathan had expected to see Marie at church, but his parents said she wouldn't be coming to Ormond until that evening. It made him uneasy. He was sure she would have wanted to spend the day with him. He texted her after the meeting, and she responded that she'd be there with her parents by 5. At that, she had some items to discuss with him. Sorry, guys, my dog just jumped in that back door. Hang on. He immediately called her, but she didn't answer. Something strange was definitely going on. Nathan spent the afternoon with his family as more reports came in about the earthquake. Vanessa had been able to reach her siblings, and although their homes had been damaged, they and their families had escaped the serious illnesses or injuries. However, more than 1,000 deaths had been reported, and even the most optimistic indicated that every day life wouldn't return to normal for several weeks. The destruction of the freeway system had paralyzed the whole region. I bet it did. I mean, God, if the freeway is down, how are you getting anywhere? I mean, this would stop people from working. It would just stop everything from happening. As Nathan watched the scenes of destruction, he felt strongly that he should convince Marie to stay in Utah. This earthquake was going to have a ripple effect on the nation's economy and could lead to more unrest, especially in Chicago. Now, listen, California is a long way from Chicago. I don't know why he's saying that to her. Again, he's trying to talk her out of not doing what she had spent her time in college to get to do. She was very excited about going on to this internship in Chicago. At 5 o'clock, he drove over to the Shaw's home, and it was obvious he was interrupting a family fight as Aaron opened the door. Marie had tears in her eyes, and her parents looked angry. Nathan stepped cautiously into the front room. "Should I come back later?" "No, we need to talk things out," Aaron said. Uh-oh. Looks like her dad's pretty upset about something. Marie came to him and took hold of his arm. "They're trying to get me to cancel my internship. That's why I stayed in Salt Lake until this afternoon." Carol shook her head. "We're just worried you haven't thought things through. I saw on the news that 2 more companies are moving their headquarters out of Chicago because of all the violence there lately." "I'll be fine," Marie screamed out at her. Why are you so scared about this? I told you, I'll be in the safest part of the city." Aaron tried to stay calm. "Look at all the looting and murders that are already happening so far in California. You know the Carters. They went on vacation there last week, but the bishop said they're stuck now and are in real danger. It just seems like the whole nation is on edge and things could explode. I don't want to send you out into it." Everyone stood tensely for a moment before Nathan said quietly, "Your parents are right." "Now you're on their side?" Marie asked incredulously. "Was everything you told me on Friday a big lie?" Boy, she's getting upset, isn't she? "No, but you don't seem to realize it's dangerous out there, and it's going to get worse. You're a beautiful woman going alone to a city filled with thugs. What kind of an internship if you wind up dead? I mean, what good is it? Why would you do this if you're just not going to make it home?" Marie wiped away some tears. "You sound just like my dad. All my life I've had nothing but doomsday predictions. Joseph Smith said this. John Taylor said that. He's been talking about this the last days for as long as I can remember. And what has happened? Nothing." Okay, hold on. My dog's going to bark. Hold on. All right, hang on, guys. All right, here we go. pretty good. The dog's not barking as much as he has been. I hope we'll get a hold of that. I really wanted to stop barking at my child. It's so annoying. He just keeps on and on. I don't know what it is, but he just chases after him. I don't know what's going on with that, but we're working on it. So remember, he goes, Marie's upset because now everybody, even Nathan, is telling her, don't go do this internship. Let's get back where we started. So Nathan, she goes, no, but you don't seem to realize it's dangerous out there and it's going to get worse. You're a beautiful woman going alone to a city filled with thugs. What good is an internship if you wind up dead? Marie wipes away some tears. You sound just like my dad. All my life I've heard nothing but doomsday predictions. Joseph Smith said, John Taylor said, he's been talking about this last days for as long as I can remember. And what has happened? Nothing, absolutely nothing. That's not true, Nathan said. Prophecies are all coming together and it's going to be a huge mess. You need to stay close to home. Marie gave him an exasperated look. Some of those prophecies are nearly 200 years old, and it could be another century before they come true. I highly doubt the world is going to collapse during my 4 months in Chicago. She backed away from him like a caged animal. Don't you realize how hard I worked to get this internship? I beat out more than 1,000 applicants. I'm going no matter what any of you say. She marched across the room to the stairway and then turned around. Nathan, I think you better leave. I care about you, but if you can't support me on this, then things just aren't going to work out between us. Don't call me again. Well, she's very upset, and I don't blame her. I mean, I understand all sides of this, but really, again, it's just this doomsday, the world of the doomsday, which has been going on forever in that religion, in those preppers, in that scenario. Anyway. She then climbed the stairs without looking back. Carol started crying and excused herself, and Aaron looked devastated. Nathan felt sick inside and turned toward the door, but Aaron grabbed his arm and whispered, Hey, you said the right things. I admire you for that. Nathan sighed. I suppose, but it feels like my heart has been stomped on now. I understand, but don't give up on her. You're the best thing's happened to her in a long time. Nathan shrugged. I'll check in with you in a few days after she's gone, but I think for now, I'll just do as she asks and leave her alone. So his heart is broke before he even starts. That's probably best, Aaron said. She can be so stubborn, so just give her some space. I will. You know what? I really hope she's right about this future, and that they're wrong, and that we're wrong. Okay, so he goes, believe me, Nathan, so do I. Chapter 15. Nathan's emotions were still running high the next morning when he arrived at Joseph Smith's building. He hadn't slept very well after his confrontation with Marie, but he knew he had made the right decision. If he was meant to be with her, it wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Garrett had given him a ride to Salt Lake, and he was one of the first to arrive, but soon several other men that he had recognized entered the lobby. Everyone seemed to be in good spirits. Suddenly, Elder Miller was in the middle of them. A bus will be arriving outside within 5 minutes, he said. Before you board the bus, use the tags we provided to label your suitcases and backpacks. Your belongings will be waiting for you at our destination. As you board the bus, make sure the attendant checks off your name. Once the bus was loaded, the men hardly spoke as they traveled to the Bishop's Central Storehouse, located at 5400 West, near I-80 in Salt Lake. The bus passed through the parking lot and stopped at a side entrance, where more men ushered into the building. They walked down a hall and came up to a spacious, well-lit room that had several chairs and maps on the walls. Elder Miller had someone arrived before them and had waited patiently as they gathered in a semicircle. Boy, these little messages just keep popping up. I guess I should have turned my phone on silent before I started doing this. But I just wanted to get started on it because it's going to take a little bit longer, to read these chapters like this. Anyway, Elder Miller, so he goes, congratulations once again on accepting this assignment. He said, today we will test your aptitude in a variety of assignments. This group will assign scouts, guards, nurses, cooks, messengers, animal herders, and delivery personnel. But first we want to give you an overview of what we expect from you. Just follow me as we move around the room and stop at several stations. Sounds like Stations of the Cross, but that's what the Catholics do. Anyway, at the first station, the men gathered around the table that held a key, and a cell phone, and a handgun. After you've been given a specific assignment, you'll be placed in the apartment with a missionary who has the same task. We've recently built a series of apartments within walking distance of this building, and that's where you'll stay while you're in Salt Lake. Some of your assignments might take you out of the area for a few days at a time, and accommodations have been made for you in those cases. As I mentioned in your first meeting, several other groups of maintenance missionaries are already working, so we worked out most of the kinks in our system. He picked up 3 items. You'll be giving a key to your apartment. It will have your room number stamped on it. Your cell phone will be programmed with certain numbers that pertain to your assignment. You are not permitted to call or receive calls from anyone else. That sounds pretty controlling, doesn't it? I don't think I'd like that. Elder Miller then held up a handgun and asked, "Have you all shot one of these before?" Everyone raised their hands, although Nathan did hesitantly because he hadn't shot one since his days as a Boy Scout. He was quite sure he wasn't going to be a guard. "It looks unanimous," Elder Miller said as he scanned the raised hands. "Your gun will help protect you in times of danger. Although we hope you'll never have to use it, you all received one unless you're a complete failure during this testing, and then we decide you're a danger to yourself." So if they are a danger to themselves, I guess they just get shipped back home. They don't get to be a part of this. The group laughed, and Elder Miller moved a few feet forward to a large glass window looked out over the immediate warehouse. This building is nearly 600,000 square feet, and the entire property covers more than 35 acres. We have the capacity to store 65,000 pounds of food and supplies. And as it is hauled away, we replace it with products from the many canneries and meat packing plants we have throughout the region. It's an amazing process. Never doubt whether the Lord will provide for his saints. The group moved down the wall and soon stood in front of a huge map of the United States. It was covered by dozens of white and blue circular stickers. Each sticker had a number in the content. Elder Miller motioned toward that map. Each dot represents a church campsite. Do you realize that the church owned this many camps? As you can see, there are more than 200 sites that have been designated as places where the saints can gather. And remember, the LDS considers their members as saints. That's why they're called saints. The white dots are what we consider the best camps, and most of them are in the Rocky Mountains. They are the furthest from civilization and are basically undetectable unless you're right at the entrance. They've been modernized in many ways and are actually quite nice. Who gets to live there? A missionary asked. Those camps are for the saints who respond to the prophet's invitation. They'll be organized under the direction of the priesthood and have the strongest defense. As you can see, about half of the camps fall into that category. He then motioned toward the eastern United States. We've created several of these best camps throughout the country. Some of them are quite close to a temple, and we've already had fencing materials in place, so they'll be able to create a secure compound that encloses both the temple and the campsites. I'm impressed. I'm impressed at how everything is already in motion, one man said. What are the saints doing in the other countries? They're going to gather to their closest temple and stake a center in that area. They're going to gather to their closest temple or stake, and the area presidencies across the world are working out the details for each stake. Elder Miller says that over the past several years, the church has sent thousands of shipments across the world to help those saints to have a stockpile of items, and at this point, they'll be fine. In actuality, those saints are quite self-sufficient and will endure the coming economic problems very well. It's the saints here in the United States that we are most worried about. He pointed at the map again. As you can see, there are also blue dots that represent other camps. Our hope is that when the prophet's letter is sent out, there's an overwhelming positive response from the saints. But we're realistic that the initial response will be fairly small. However, as national conditions get steadily worse in the weeks that follow, some members will realize they should have followed the prophets. Because remember back in the dream that he had, in the dream that Nathan had, that they were given a choice to either follow the prophets and don't ask questions, or they could go back downstairs, remember? And most of the people didn't listen, they just went downstairs. So he's kind of remembering back to his dream and all the things that went on, and he's thinking to himself, oh boy, I did dream this, right? He's thinking that he had some kind of a vision, but it was a dream. They will find out where the first groups of saints went, but they won't be able to locate them. So we're preparing for this so-called second wave of saints by creating these boot camps. The members will have to get there on their own, and there will be a minimal church organization there. Although we'll provide guards, we'll stock these camps fairly well with food and time, as time permits, but the accommodations won't be too great. We aren't trying to punish these people or anything, but they'll have had their chance to respond to the prophet's invitation, just like everyone else. Well, will they ever have an opportunity to join the saints? Another missionary asked this question. Possibly, but not for a while, Elder Miller said. We hope that some of these members will be spiritually strengthened and eventually rejoin the rest of the saints when we assemble in the largest groups. And any other questions? A man raised his hand. My neighbor has a nice cabin in the Unita Mountains stocked with 2 years' supply of food. He says if there's ever any major trouble, he's taking his family there to hide out and defend themselves against intruders. What do you think about that? Is this man active in the church? He goes, yes, he's on our stake high council. Elder Miller says, well, we've actually discussed these situations because there are a lot of members who are already prepared and could live for months on their own. The trouble is that even though it would probably be easier for them to take his family to live there on their own, the Lord needs leaders like him in these camps. The man nodded. I doubt he knows about the church's plans. So maybe he'll just switch gears and join the saints when he hears about us and from the prophet's invitation. I hope so. In these situations, we would help him retrieve his food storage and take it to his council church. Because the Lord really needs his strongest and most experienced saints there to help the campuses run smoothly. That's why the prophet's letter will invite all saints together to the camps, the rich, the poor. After all, the gathering has greater purpose than just physically surviving there. As we said in one of our meetings, it will also help the saints become spiritually refined and achieve the higher level of unity, a Zion community. Okay, so let me tell you something. The next book in this series, I believe, is the book about Zion, which I have and I'm going to read because, again, I want to read all of these books written by this guy to kind of understand his psyche. I know people are like, well, maybe after the first 2 books you would get it. But no, see, because Chad Daybell is this complete... I'm going to say it like this. To me, he's a fool, okay? And he's a cult leader. And so he has written all of this doomsday stuff. All of these comes from different parts of the Bible and the Book of Mormon and some other things. Is how I came up with this. And he sells this because he sells the doomsday prepping, which all of these people are into. And that's how they all got associated with him. Because I believe, I'm just going to say this out loud. I might be wrong. I don't know. But I believe that some of these books are scaring people into believing this stuff, right? Because that's been their whole goal. They make the money off of it. Basically, if you follow the money, you follow everything, right? Because all of the big leaders, all of the people who are running these things, all of the people who are creating the doomsday preppers communities, etc., they're the people making the money, not the people participating. So anyway, he goes, I hope so. In those situations, we would help him retrieve his food storage and take it to the church camp because the Lord really needs his strongest and most experienced saints there to help the camps run smoothly. That's why the prophet's letter will invite all saints together at the camps, the rich, the poor, and after all, this gathering has a greater purpose than just physically surviving the troubles. As we said in one of our meetings, it will also help the saints become spiritually refined and achieve a higher level of unity, a Zion community, if you will. After all, it's these saints who will soon build the New Jerusalem. So evading Babylon is really about going to the New Jerusalem, which is the Zion community. Okay, hang on a second. I hope he doesn't start. Hang on, Jack. Hang on just a second. Let me stop it. One missionary raised his hand. So are you saying that after the saints have been in these camps, they won't return to their homes? That's correct. We have much to do to prepare for the second coming of Christ. A crucial step. To quote the 10th article of faith, it's the Zion, the New Jerusalem, will be built upon the American continent, and that's our ultimate purpose. Chapter 16. After a few more minutes of instructions by Elder Miller, the missionaries were given a light lunch. During the lunch break, they were individually taken into rooms with Elder Miller and another leader, and formally set apart to serve as a full-time missionary for the church. Nathan listened carefully to his blessing. Okay, so he's giving this patriarchal blessing to him now. Again, we have to refer back to the Aaronic priesthood, which is the book that Chad Daybell wrote about these blessings and and what ordains these people as prophets. Okay, so here we go. Elder Noah promised that the angels would be watching over him to protect and guide him. He was also promised that opportunities would come to give him the healing priesthood blessings and that he would witness many miracles in the coming months. After the blessing, Nathan turned around to shake hands with the men and thank them for their inspired words. Elder Miller smiled at him and said, "The Lord has great things in store for you, Nathan." After eating, they were asked to fill out a questionnaire that gauged their interests and skills. As Nathan went through it, he realized that he had no desire to herd animals or work as a medical assistant. Besides, he didn't have any experience in either of those. He had been required to get a commercial driver's license to work at Toys R Us, though, so he made a special mention of that on his questionnaire. The group soon moved outside, where the men were put through their series of tests, including shooting a handgun and driving a large moving van through the maze of orange cones. Nathan did okay on the shooting test, but he really excelled in the driving exam. He had the fastest time and didn't hit a single cone. By late afternoon, the men were divided into 6 different groups. Nathan found himself standing in the parking lot next to 7 other men. A middle-aged man walked over to them. "Hello, I'm Samuel Pickering, and I'm the coordinator for our fleet of delivery vans. The 8 of you have been selected to serve in one of our most important assignments, getting the food supplies from the warehouse to the camps. You'll each be assigned your own truck, and each day you'll have a delivery to complete." You saw the map inside the various camps. Some are within the day's drive, while others will take longer. He motioned toward a set of housing units in the distance. "In a few minutes, I'll take you over to your living quarters. They're actually 1-bedroom apartments that were originally used by senior missionaries or couples who worked in the storehouses, but our circumstances have obviously changed." A missionary asked, "Do we have an assigned companion?" Samuel shook his head. One difference in this round of missionary service is that although you have a roommate, you don't have a designated companion. Sometimes you'll work with others, but often you'll be working on your own, particularly as we transport into the camps. Time is short, and we need every one of you. You'll be staying busy now that the snow on the mountains has started melting, and we can get the supplies to the camps. Aren't these camps well stocked already?" one man asked. "No, most of these sites were used as girls' camps or Boy Scout camps well into the last autumn, so there wasn't space available to store the supplies." Samuel says, "Can you imagine leaving a pile of food within reach of a hungry scout? That's not a good idea." The group chuckled, and then Samuel added, "Besides, I've heard through the grapevine that the prophet didn't have a distinct impression on the timing of the coming of national problems until a few weeks ago, so that's why we're hurrying now." So I'm wondering if the earthquake or something else happened that they took as a sign that they needed to go ahead and start this now. See, I wondered about that because it talks about, I don't know if you know this or not, but in some books or some Christian writings, it talks about when certain things start happening, that's going to be our sign, that we need to realize that the second coming is coming now, and that people need to follow their leaders or follow the church's guidance. So that's kind of what's happening here. They are having these people follow the guidance of the LDS. Anyway, but under the terms as doomsday preppers, which, okay, maybe I just don't understand because I'm not of that faith. I've not followed it. I'm not real sure, but anyway, let's just keep reading. "No, he goes, do we have to wear uniforms?" He goes, "No, you'll wear regular work clothes, a nice shirt and jeans, and comfortable shoes or boots that will provide for you. The main objective is to blend in. The general authorities will never say it, but I will. Let your hair grow." Wow. "Even if you look a little scruffy, we want you to essentially be hidden from the world, even though you'll be among them every day. No one will realize what you're doing." Some of the men smiled at each other. "This is going to be a lot of fun," one said. Samuel turned on him. "This isn't a laughing matter. There are people out there who want to kill you. Unless you find ways to evade them and escape their plots against you, they'll get you." Samuel's comment silenced the group. He finally said, "Sorry I spoke that way, but one of our drivers was shot last week and is still in the hospital. He thinks he was targeted, so please take this seriously. Well, let's show you your new homes." That's kind of scary. People already shooting at them? Wow. They walked to the apartment complex and found that the suitcases were waiting for them. Then Samuel gave each one of them a key to go inspect their new living quarters. Nathan's key was stamped with a 7. As he approached the door, he saw a muscular blonde man standing at the doorway. Oh, I guess he's going to be Agent 7 now. Yes, Nathan, Agent 7. Okay. Welcome, the man said. I'm Chet, your roommate. Come on in. Nathan entered the apartment and could smell a delicious aroma coming from the small kitchen. I'm guessing this isn't your first day, Nathan said. Nah, I've been serving for 2 weeks now. It'll be great to finally have a roommate. Where are you from? He goes, Orem. I got home from a mission to Minnesota just a few weeks ago. How about you? I'm from Fillmore and got home from Oklahoma about 2 months ago. Nathan noticed some well-worn work gloves on a chair. So I suppose you're already making deliveries? Yep, I just got back from delivering cans of wheat to a camp near Logan. It wasn't too hard. The two men hit off quickly and Chet pulls out a loaf of bread. He's making fresh bread. Yummy, I love fresh cooked bread. Anyway, there was a knock on the door. Nathan opened it and saw Samuel standing there. He came in and put 2 manila envelopes on the table, then handed Nathan a big bag that held a cell phone and a handgun and 2 boxes of bullets. He goes, Nathan, these envelopes hold your assignment for the week. Check. Go over the basics with Nathan tonight and let him know if you have any concerns. I'm not worried, though. You did well today on your driving test. Thank you, Nathan said. I'll do my best. Also, my cell number is the first one listed in your phone. Call me if you have any questions or problems during your deliveries. Okay, so meanwhile, Chad has buttered 3 pieces of bread and now handed one to Nathan and Samuel before taking his bite of his own piece. They all savored the taste. Then Samuel said, You lucked out with your roommate, Nathan. Everyone here is top-notch, but no one can cook like Chad. God, that would be a great roommate, wouldn't it? Fresh bread every day? Yum. Okay, he goes. After Samuel left, the pair spent several minutes going over their upcoming assignment. Nathan saw he would be making daily deliveries to a camp in Vernal, Utah. Do they usually send you to the same place every day, he asked. Yeah, at least for the first week, Chet said. It lets you get to learn the hang of things. Then they'll start sending you on longer trips. It sounds like I'll be heading into Canada, so I might not make it back for a few days. It looks like you'll be cooking for yourself a few times this week. Where do I sleep if I don't make it back? Okay, so Nathan goes, Where do I sleep if I don't make it back in one day? Nathan asked. Well, the guys who do the schedules try to make it for you to be able to stay at a church camp. But sometimes I've slept in my truck at rest stops along the way. You do what you have to do. Do we load everything in by ourselves? Nathan asked. No, thank goodness, Chet said. Sometimes you do when you unload it at a camp. But here they have forklifts and they use trucks to load these trucks each night. The trucks are ready to go first thing in the morning. We'll be down at the loading dock at 7 a.m. Then I'll be on my own. Yep, Chet said with a grin. They threw you right into it, but I can tell you'll do great. He goes, chapter 17. As Nathan spent a busy, think about how strange this is. We were going along, and he's going to go to this camp, and he's going to do all these things, because working with the MM project. But in the meantime, we've got something going over in China where somebody's going to come over here with 3 cans of something. But we don't know what that is yet because, the author has not gotten back to that yet. It's so strange. Trying to read this book is strange because it goes all over the place before it ever comes back to the other one. It's just very wild. And, you can tell a lot of this is self-published, actually, by the structure of the sentences, the paragraphs, and the run-ons, etc. Okay. As Nathan spent a busy week taking loads of supplies and stayed at the camp near Vernal, Marie packed her bags for Chicago. She surprised her parents on Thursday night by returning home and patching up the differences. She apologized for her bad attitude and promised to call them every day. Harold took her to Salt Lake International Airport on Friday morning, and as the plane took off, Marie realized she wouldn't see Nathan for a few months. She hated to admit it, but she was annoyed that Nathan had taken her seriously and hadn't called her. The previous night, she had given in and called his cell, but all she got was a computerized voice saying his number was no longer in service. All I can do is look forward to this new adventure, she told herself. The church job will keep Nathan busy, and he'll still be there at the end of the summer. Maybe this is the best for us. By mid-afternoon, she was looking out the plane window at the flat expanses of rural Illinois. The patchwork of fields seemed to go on forever without a mountain in sight. Soon the plane's captain asked them to fasten their seatbelts. As the plane descended, Marie stared out at the green suburbs of Chicago. Everything looked lush and tranquil. This is what it was. This is what all the fuss was about, she murmured. Nathan made it sound like they were rioting in the streets. The plane touched down at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, and she was so excited and she had entered the concourse, she saw a thin woman with long blonde hair holding a sign with her name on it. Marie walked over. "Hello, I'm Marie." The woman's face brightened. "Welcome to the Bianca Ashman Gretchen." Wait a minute. She goes, "Welcome, I'm Bianca Ashman. Gretchen Howe sent me on her behalf. She wanted to see you before the end of the day, so I'll take you directly to her office after we retrieve your luggage." "Thank you," Marie said. "I'm so excited to be here. You're going to have a wonderful time," Bianca said. "Just like you, I started out with Naples and Austin as a summer intern, and now I'm Gretchen's personal assistant, so the sky's the limit." After picking up Marie's 2 suitcases, the women made their way to their main parking garage, where they slipped the luggage into the back of a silver Honda CRZ. And that's a little car, folks. That's a little car. "It was either this or my Ferrari," Bianca said with a smile. "But I wasn't sure how much luggage you had." Marie sensed Bianca wasn't joking. "It sounds like this is a great company to work for." Marie said, "It's the best," Bianca said as she drove the car onto I-90 heading east. "You'll love it." "The city looks peaceful," Marie said. "My parents and boyfriend acted like I was moving to a war zone." Bianca shrugged. "The Bloomingdale's building where we work is about as risk-free as you can get, but Chicago does have some dangerous places. Just use common sense. I grew up about 100 miles south of here, and I've seen a few things, but if you follow some basic rules of thumb, you should be just fine." "Like what?" Marie asked. "You know, stick to the well-lit places with lots of other people. Don't jog into the park after dark, and don't consume a lot of alcohol before you stumble yourself home." Marie laughed. "Is that from personal experience?" "No comments. But my martial arts trainings sure came in handy that night." Okay, so something happened to this person is why she's telling her this. Okay. So just then an 18-wheeler swerved in front of them. Bianca let out a stirring profanities, taking Marie by surprise. Once Bianca had calmed down a bit, Marie said, "Yeah, that guy was an idiot. Anyway, tell me about the Bloomingdale's building. I read that it's 66 stories high." "The building has everything you'd ever need," Bianca said. "I have a condo there, and some days I don't even go outside. It's a huge atrium that I like to go sit in when I need some time by myself, and it's like the mall. It's great." "It sounds amazing," he said. They were silent for a moment before Bianca cocked her head and looked over at Marie. "By the way, did I hear you say boyfriend a few minutes ago?" Marie shrugged. "Yeah, I guess you'd say that, but we're on a break for the summer." "Good. I don't want anything to stop you from hanging out with us on the weekends." "Okay, but I don't drink." "Yeah, Gretchen had said you were a Mormon, so I figured that much. But don't worry, you'll still have fun, and you can help me get home." Just then Marie caught sight of the magnificent mile and important row of skyscrapers where the building is located. "This view is still impressive every time," Bianca says. 30 minutes later, the women were walking into the lobby of the Naples and Austins, each carrying one of Marie's suitcases. Bianca stopped at the front desk and introduced Marie to the receptionist. "It's a pleasure to meet you," Alexa says with a big smile. "Gretchen told me earlier we should get you processed before you meet with her. Please just run your chip over the scanner and you'll be fine." Okay, notice she's talking about the chip. Now here's the problem. Marie doesn't have a chip, all right? She hasn't done this yet. So here we go. Now this chip seems to be, the chip is against the church rules. Okay. I'm just going to say that, but that's back from before in some other chapters. It talked about the church had said, no, they didn't want their members getting this chip. Okay. So Marie she was momentarily speechless. Finally, she said, I haven't got a chip yet. Bianca and Alice looked at each other in surprise. Bianca finally said, "Oh, that's okay. There's a chip implantation center down in the mall. We'll take care of it after you talk to Gretchen." Soon Marie was walking into Gretchen's office, and her new boss came around the desk, gave her a quick embrace. "It's wonderful you could come before the semester was over." "Everything worked out well," Marie said. "My professors were very understanding." "I'm grateful for this," Gretchen said. "I suppose you got to know Bianca during your ride from the airport?" "Yes, we hit it off right from the start," Marie said. "Excellent. Gretchen says, Bianca is a fantastic help to me. She enjoys the nightclub scene, but she's always here on Monday morning, bright and early, raring to go. Yes, she seems to be top notch. Gretchen then glanced at her door to make sure it was closed before saying, I hope you don't emulate her. I had thousands of women to choose for this internship, and I chose you. Do you know why? Actually, no. You're immensely talented, which truly helped. But during our interview, you told me about your high moral standards, which I found to be severely lacking among the other internship candidates in recent years. So, if Bianca or Alexa invite you out on the town, I hope that you follow that wisdom word you were telling me about. I'd actually be quite disappointed if you don't. Don't worry, Marie said. During our drive here, Bianca invited me to go with her on the weekends, and I explained that I don't drink. How did she respond? Marie smiled. She was fine with it, purely because she knows I'll still be sober at the end of the night. Then they discussed several responsibilities Marie would handle during the internship, and Gretchen explained to the about entering into the restricted part of the building. She'd have to run her chip across the scanner on the door. Marie raised her right hand. That might be a problem. As I told Alex, I came in. I haven't received a chip yet. Gretchen looked perplexed. Really? Is it against your religion to get the chip? Marie shrugged. It's discouraged, but not forbidden. Would you be willing to get it? Gretchen asked. Honestly, without the chip, you won't be able to function very well in many of these assignments I've planned for you. Marie's heart was beating rapidly, but after moments of hesitation, she nodded. Yeah, that would be fine. Bianca mentioned she could take me to an implantation center this evening. Gretchen smiled wildly. Fantastic. You'll love it and wonder why you didn't have it before. Okay. Boy, that's kind of interesting. The following morning, and think about this. So she's going to, against the better judgment of the church, she's going to pick the money and the job and go ahead and get this chip implanted. So is she really following the teachings? No, not really. Okay. The following morning, Aaron Shaw arrived early at NSA Data Center. He expected Naples and Austin to give Marie an ultimatum about getting that chip, and he hoped she'd have the courage to tell them she couldn't, thus disqualifying her from the internship. See, they're all plotting against her, aren't they? It's not very nice. However, she had sounded thrilled with how everything was going when they talked the night before. She described her new apartment and told them about the new friends that she'd already made, but she didn't mention anything about getting that chip. The urge to know if Marie had gotten the chip had nagged at him all night, and he finally decided to go into work and find out, even though it was a Saturday. The NSA offices were a flurry of activity 7 days a week, so his presence didn't seem unusual to anyone. He waved to some coworkers as he reached his desk. Then he logged onto his computer and entered Marie's basic information to the national database. Okay, now think about this. Her father works at this NSA building, or in this NSA place, and he's going to be spying on her whether she got the chip or not. I think that's just really kind of rude, but okay. Here we go. Within seconds, a screen popped up listing Marie's vital statistics, as well as a recent photo of her. Next to the photo was her box that read chip implanted and gave the implantation date as the previous evening. He quickly typed in the passwords that allowed him to monitor her location through the GPS device embedded in her chip. Her present location was in her apartment inside the Bloomingdale's building. But he hit another key to trace her movements in the hours since that chip was implanted. He scrolled down and saw that she'd been at a nightclub until nearly 2 a.m. Wow, she's been gone less than 2 days and is already out on the town, he muttered. So this is upsetting to him. He's getting upset because he's like, I taught my daughter better. I didn't think she would he didn't think she would stray from her teachings, etc. Anyway, he began to pound as he resisted the urge to call her right then. But he knew he wasn't wise. What? He knew it wasn't wise. He hated to spy on his daughter's activities, but he nodded. He has to have this tracking ability as the ace up his sleeves. Okay, so he's not going to tell her that he's tracking her. He's not going to tell her that he knows that she did get the chip, even though it was suggested by the church not to get the chip. Okay. Hold on just a second, guys. I need to do something about my battery. Hang on just a second. I'll just keep going because, if I don't, I'm afraid I'll mess it up. Okay. So, Aaron switched to another screen that he had bookmarked. This profile of a man known as Bricks is on the street of Chicago. The NSA has identified this convicted felon as the leader of a growing underground offshoot of the Occupy movement. Bricks' group also wanted to bring down the supposed 1%, but was planning a more sinister way to do that, murdering them all in public areas. The FBI was keeping track of Bricks and his followers, watching for any chance to arrest him. But so far, Bricks was a free man. Okay, here we go. Let me check something real quick. Make sure this is playing right, like it's supposed to be. Okay. Then he goes. Aaron typed the GPS password to see where Bricks was. His skin crawled as he saw Bricks' location inside a vehicle driving down the magnificent mile. So this magnificent mile is where all these big buildings are, and also where this building is that she's staying in, this Bloomingdale building. That's just too close for comfort. Aaron whispered, feeling completely helpless, concerned about his daughter. Heavenly Father, please watch over my sweet Marie. Okay, now we're on chapter 18. I'm going to plug this. I have to plug my phone in real quick because the battery's kind of low. I'm hoping that my microphone keeps working. We will see. Hold on just a second. All right. I hope it doesn't go down. Okay, chapter 18. That spring, the national debate over same-sex marriages had heated up again. Surveys indicated that the majority of Americans favored it being legalized nationwide. As support grew, the church faced extreme pressure from all sides to change its stance against it. Groups of protesters standing outside the church buildings were now common across the country, with the media seemingly always there to report any incidents. The tension escalated when members of the first presidency received a series of death threats, and the walls of the Temple Square were painted with obscure graffiti. After counseling with Salt Lake City's public safety officials, the first presidency announced that General Conference would still go forward as usual during the first weekend in April. However, security precautions around the Temple Square would be unprecedented. In order to help prepare for the General Conference, Nathan's assignment was temporarily switched from making deliveries to helping with security. He and a dozen other maintenance missionaries dressed up in suits and stationed themselves around the conference center looking for any suspicious behavior. Now remember that he had the Spirit tell him before that he needed to stop the man coming into the other building, and he had a bomb. And remember, he throws the bomb, and that's how the elder finds him, and he gets to go to this MM project. Okay. The church didn't limit anyone's freedom of speech, but the maintenance missionaries would stand directly in front of the protesters and just stare into their eyes. The protesters seemed baffled on how to respond, and many simply stopped talking and walked away. "Ah, come on," a middle-aged woman shouted to Nathan. "You guys aren't giving us a fair chance to voice our opinion." Nathan just stared at her with his arms crossed as he continued to rant for another 5 minutes. She finally got right in his face, and he gently said, "If you touch me, you'll go straight to jail." His response startled her, causing her to back away as if he had leprosy. He couldn't help but smile as she turned the corner and disappeared. I guess he scared her pretty good. Throughout the General Conference, the prophet and the apostles left no doubt that the saints needed to be prepared for major changes in their lives. One apostle explained that while each geographical area of the church faces different circumstances, members of the church should be ready if called upon to separate themselves from the world and gather together. The story of Lehi leading his family out of Jerusalem was mentioned in 3 separate talks. Another apostle looked directly into the TV camera and said, "Eliminate any credit card debt and live within your means. Set your lives in order so that you could leave your current situation at any moment's notice if the Lord asks. That time may soon come, and you must be free from the world's entanglements." During the priesthood session, the prophet strongly condemned the chip and told the men to avoid it like the plague. He also urged them to be more virtuous than they had ever been, explaining that they needed to be in tune with the Spirit in order to make wise choices in the coming weeks and months. However, the climactic moment of General Conference came at the end. On Sunday afternoon session, when the prophet announced all calls for proselyting missions are being indefinitely suspended. No young men or women will be called to serve as a full-time missionary for the foreseeable future, and all U.S.-born missionaries serving outside the United States will be returning home within 2 weeks. Senior couples who are serving at temples will continue their missions, but all other senior missionaries will be returning home. The prophet paused, allowing the announcement to sink in before adding, "This decision is in fulfillment of several prophecies, including one by Brigham Young, who taught, when the testimony of the elders ceases to be given, and the Lord says to them, 'Come home,' I will now preach my own sermons to the nations of the earth. All you know now can scarcely be called a prefix." I'm sorry, y'all, hang on just a second. This is kind of, okay. He goes, "All you know now can scarcely be called a preface to, oh my God. Oh, I guess I'm tired. Hang on. He goes, let me say that one over. He goes, "All you know now can scarcely be called as a preface to the sermon that will be preached with fire and sword, tempest, earthquakes, hail, rain, thunders and lightnings, and fearful destruction." The prophet looked steadily into the TV camera and said, "The perilous times that President Young spoke of are rapidly approaching, but the Lord will protect his righteous saints. I admonish you to carefully ponder the words of the counsel that have been given during this conference, and may God bless you all." Nathan and Chet were exhausted when they returned to their apartment that Sunday night, but they were excited by the tone of the general conference. "I'll bet it won't be too long before the prophet's letter is sent," Chet said. The apostles were clearly making a final plea for the saints to turn their lives around. "I agree," Nathan said. "You'd think the fact that the church is suspending postulating calls and bringing missionaries home from overseas would be a big hint that changes are coming quickly." Chet nodded. "Let's hope the saints were listening." Chapter 19. A month had passed by and since the dragon's departure from China. Okay, now we're going to talk about the guy from China. Oh, is this thing not charging? Come on a minute. It's acting like it's not charging. Hang on, guys. There we go. Ooh, I hope my phone doesn't die in the middle of this. All right. So he goes, so the person called the dragon. I might have to stop on chapter 19 and change this because my phone is not charging while I am doing this recording from StreamYard. I don't know why. So I'm going to stop right now. We'll just call it chapter 12 through chapter 18. And then I'll come back on later on this afternoon and do some more chapters because I want to finish this book so we can move on to the next one and talk about some other things. So I thank you for listening. Have any questions, just ask. It's okay. And I hope you enjoy this series because, you know, again, the one thing about my channel is it's facts or is it? That's the whole question about these books and these things that we learn about. So anyway, I'll talk to you later. Have a good afternoon. I hope everybody has a great day, had a great weekend, and we'll touch base later. Bye, guys.